Boris Veldhuijzen van Zanten. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's good.
Tell me about yourself. What do you do in daily life, and how did you get into action sports and outdoor sports?
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I dropped out of school when I was 15, and soon started my first company. And ever since the World Wide Web started becoming popular, I found my niche and my passion. So that's what I do every day, running a technology company.
Okay, cool. And so I can see some skis in the background. You're a skier.
I am
more than anything else, or?
Well, I think it's my only hobby, really. So I seriously think there's not a day I don't think about skiing in my life. So even in the middle of the summer, I'll see a hill and I'm like, yeah, I could ski that. Yeah. So even at the beach.
Okay. And so skiing. Tell me about what fascinates you in skiing.
That's a good question. And the interesting thing with skiing is that every time I go skiing, there's a moment where I sit in the lift and suddenly I'm thinking, what a weird sport is this? You know, I'm going up, I'm going down, what's the point of it all? But then you find like a patch, you know, I'll get off the piste somewhere, I'll walk a few 100 meters and then I find my own hill and find your rhythm and you're one with the mountain, and that's a beautiful experience. I love being in the mountains, and I was in the lift this week and I said even if both my legs were broken, I'd still be happy to be in this lift, right? Just the view and the fresh air and the adventure. I really enjoyed the adventure. I used the pistes to find my off-piste routes, and I couldn't imagine just only skiing on the piste.
Yeah, it reminds me of a blog you wrote a few weeks ago. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. I was in Italy, Valagna, and I got invited to join a group of people who were gonna skin up a mountain and find a really nice route down. But it was my first day in that area, so I was still getting used to the snow and everything. And I didn't have skis with me that I could skin up. And then the guide said, that's no problem, we can give you those snow boots and you'll just walk up the mountain. And I said, is there a disadvantage? And he said, yes, it's about 30% heavier than skiing. So the other guys in the group were joking around like, hey Boris, we'll have lunch at the top of the mountain. Don't wait, don't worry, we'll wait for you. So I felt the pressure of, you know, having to walk up that mountain. And we started off and the ski shoes were, you know, falling off my feet. I had to adjust them all the time and I couldn't find the path. And I think within 15 minutes I was sweating, I was out of breath. And I looked up the mountain and I saw this group and there were 200 or 300 meters in front of me, like in a nice tempo, and I just, you know, I felt like crying and giving up and going back. And then one of the guys came up to me, he was sort of at the end of the group, so he came next to me and he said, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh man, it's so far, I look at where they are, I look at how far we still have to go and I'm already exhausted. And he smiled at me and he said, you're going around about this all wrong. Right? You don't want to find the mountain. The mountain is not against you. There's no, this is just it. You gotta accept it for what it is and go one step at a time. Don't focus at the goal there. Don't focus at the guys. Don't think you're slower than the rest. Just focus on your breathing, your heart rate. Be in the moment and take one step. And as he said it to me, I thought, I know this, right? Because this is what you do as an entrepreneur. You don't think, of course you set a goal, but then you focus on the little steps you do. And it's always just a lot of hard work. And if you think about all the stuff you're going to do and the bad luck you're going to get, you know, it's so demotivating. So you got to focus on what you can establish today or the next hour. So I took a step and then another, and pretty soon I got into a rhythm. And I was just, my life was this, right? I just saw the front of my shoes and 30 centimeters of snow, and I was following this path. I was getting into a rhythm, and then a magical thing happened because I saw the back end of a ski appear in my line of sight. And it turned out I caught up with one of the guys. And he said something, but I was so focused that I just kept walking. I passed him, and then I passed another set of skis, another guy who said something that I didn't hear. And then at one point I saw two shoes, and I slowly looked up, and there was the the head guide, and he was standing on the summit, and he had his arms wide, and I said, "First?" And I looked around, and the other guys were all 200 meters behind me, and he said, "First," and he gave me a hug, and I still get emotional, because it was such a beautiful moment where they just saw me struggle in the beginning, but then I caught up and found my rhythm.
Yeah. It's all about rhythm. It isn't that much about speed, isn't it?
No, not at all. It is the rhythm is really important. I was really focused on the rhythm and both the mental and the physical side of it. So I was trying to ease my breathing and feeling my heartbeat. But then it's also very inspiring, right? So while I was doing this, I was thinking about my work and my life as an entrepreneur and how it resembled and then you sort of get into a state where you forget about time or distance, and at one point you suddenly realize, wow, here's a ski.
You're there. Yeah. And the funny thing is that we at Gear Limits, we're all about really high-end gear, the right gear at the right moment, and this epitome you got was actually as a consequence of not really the correct gear that you had on your feet in this case. But there was other stuff you had on at that moment. How did that help you in any way to get back in the game, so to speak?
Well, I did, and I do like having great gear, right? Good gear. So you have a certain confidence in your gear. I don't like it when people blame their gear, right? Because there's always something, of course. So I like investing in good stuff, and then so okay, it's not the gear, right? It's never the gear, it's you. So, but I was lucky. I got a great orange suit, and I'll show it to you because it's got great visibility. It's really difficult to miss me on a piste or off piste, which is what I liked. And my other suit is a red suit, and I remember being in the store and thinking about like what is I spend a lot of attention on avalanche safety, and I thought, what is the color that if I get in an avalanche and only my leg sticks out, that you can still see me? So I picked red. But the orange is even better, so because it's especially when the sun is shining, you're like an orange beacon on a piste. So the other obvious thing is that it's a onesie, it's a full body suit, and that felt really weird when I first put it on, because I feel like one of my kids or something, right? Because onesie is so weird. But I ended up really enjoying it, and the thing is, especially when the weather is not as forgiving as usual, it really feels airtight, and it is airtight. And it also was more convenient than I thought. So I thought it would be inconvenient, like stuck in a sleeping bag or something. But the zippers are really, well placed. It's easy. If you gotta make a bathroom stop, it's really easy. Although I suggest you practice it like in the apartment before you do it in a public bathroom. But yeah, it was really cool. And the good thing is on the side, you see they're still open. It's really easy to zip up one leg, and it just opens up all the way up. And especially when I was walking up that mountain, the sun was shining, it was really warm, and you can just open it all up and get some air.
And in descent, any snow coming in through because there's no mesh?
Well, in the descent I closed it, so
okay.
That's the other thing, you can easily close it. In the armpits there are also zippers, so you can also open these up, and then there's less risk of snow coming in, so that works really well.
And this is the Haglöfs version, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is. The other thing I really like is you can open the zipper if you want to have some air, but there's like two states, because you can also lock these in, and then you can still breathe through this mesh, but also have the zipper open a little bit, so it gives you some room. We also have very cold circumstances where I put the hood over my helmet, but it's still a lot of space and you can adjust it as well. And so it's really made for wearing over a helmet, which, shocking to say, you still see people without a helmet, but I of course wear one.
What kind of helmets do you wear? What is your preference
I like the POC helmets. I have my own set of POC helmets as well, and I got these to try out. It's more comfortable and lighter than the helmet I had. Mine was a few years old. It's also got a special safety system, which I don't know how it works, but apparently this pops out if you get into a big fall. And the interesting thing with the helmets is that I speak to people. I spoke to one guy and he said, well, I don't really need a helmet because I'm a really good skier. And I'm like, well, yeah, but a lot of accidents don't happen because you're at fault, but you know, somebody else will ski into you, like a snowboarder. But
That's nasty.
sorry. So the good thing about this helmet as well is that it's got these patches and they're attached on the inside, and you can take them out, and it's really good to get a perfect fit. So I remember in the past when you put on a helmet and you would just see if it would fit and not fall off if you bend over. But this one allows you to really adjust it. You know, if you're like, okay, it's fine here, but there's some pressure here, well then you move one of these a little bit to the front or to the back, and it gives you a better fit. So I really enjoyed that. Played around with it a lot to find it until it was perfect. And it's when you wear it, it still keeps you warm and gives you a really safe feeling, but it never becomes uncomfortable.
Same for you? Does that safe feeling help you to improve that performance?
Well, so do more sounds more dangerous, but I think if you're skiing, your mental state is really important and a huge factor in how you ski. So the moment where you're hesitant or tired, you tend to lean back a little bit, you're less committed, and skiing just becomes more dangerous. So I don't see it like, well, if you wear the helmet, you can jump off the mountain and you'll be safe, right? That's not the way to go about it. But if the helmet or any safety measure can give you more confidence, you'll ski better. So I think being safe is, it has two effects. You will be safe in case of an accident, but you'll also ski better, so you'll avoid accidents.
Yeah. Interesting. Nice.
All right. Well, of course, I've got my peeper, right? The avalanche peeper. I got the avalanche bag with a shovel and a probe.
Do you ski with ABS as well?
And I ski with the ABS.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I thought it was a luxury, and then I bought one. I went skiing with my girlfriend, and we did one run, and we went back to the store and bought her one as well. Because suddenly I thought, like, this doesn't make sense, right? I bought one, and then we're getting an avalanche together, and I get out, and she doesn't get out.
Doesn't make sense.
So yeah, and I think that the moment I decided to buy one was, I talked to another skier, and I said, I'm thinking about it, and he said, if you're thinking about it, just buy one. Because if you get in an avalanche now, and you're covered in snow, and then you're thinking like, damn, I should have bought it. That's too late, right? You're gonna regret that the rest of your very short life.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an awful 10 minutes. Well, I think it's all a very calculated risk. I think I'm a very safe skier, right? So I went skiing this weekend, and I was looking at a run or discussing it the evening before with a couple of other skiers, and they were excited about it as well, but I didn't really know them well. And we showed up on the piste, and they were not wearing helmets, they didn't have their safety gear, and I said, I can't ski with you because I'm all about safety, and this is just, you should prepare better. And I was so shocked and surprised that people would not take care in their preparations. So I think I'm very careful about what I do. I know my skills, I know what I can do, but then you always try to push a little bit. So it's not that I'm looking for more danger, but I do like the challenge of finding something where maybe last year you thought, that's slightly too difficult for me, and then this year you do it, like, I did it and I can do it. So that's exciting.
The suit, we talked about the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that always strikes me as one of the most important things, just seeing where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
So visibility, did you encounter difficult circumstances?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had the worst visibility ever skiing 3 weeks ago in Valtero. And
in the history of mankind, or
in my history, yeah. Well, you sometimes you ski, you say, I couldn't even see the next pole. Well, this was worse. So,
okay.
But it also was one of the best runs ever. So we were on top of a black run. It was closed, but we skied it anyway. And it was closed because there was maybe 80 centimeters of powder on the black run. And so the first 5 turns were a struggle because we were trying to brake and finding our way was difficult. And then at one point I said to my girlfriend, we gotta just trust the pisteur, right? So this piste is fine, it's groomed, it's just a lot of snow, there are no sudden drop-offs or bumps. So just try to pick up some speed and just follow your feeling. And we did, and it was amazing. And there was so much snow that at one point I said to myself, you gotta close your mouth because snow is just covering the whole face. And it was so amazing to find so much powder just on a piste. So it was possible. And I got these goggles from POC, and they fit great with the helmet. So they're designed to have a seamless fit here. There's no snow coming in, no matter how fast you're going. And they have adjustable lenses, so you can take this lens off, put on a different one for different kinds of light. So this is an orange-yellow filter, which gives you a lot of visibility when there's less light or more flat light. But you can also get a darker one for sunny days. Or if you damage it, like I did, because I hit a rock probably. If you damage it, you can also replace it, which is nice. And so I love these. Yeah,
and how are they as far as fogging up is concerned?
Yeah, so that's another great point about these goggles, that they have 2 layers of glass. And the good thing there is that there's a small pocket of air in between the 2 pieces of glass or plastic, and that keeps the interior one more warm. And that means they don't fog up as much as usual, which is nice because my other goggles I used to have, when you get to a tree line and it's getting warmer, you have to clean them like every 5 minutes. But these ones never fog up, so that's a great invention.
We could talk about almost all the gear that is essential for a good run, except for skis. What kind of skis have your preference as far as?
So I own a pair of Black Crows. They're behind me, and they're a very versatile pair of skis. So in Italy, I tried a pair of Rossignol skis, and they were very interesting. It's an extremely light ski. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful design, and it's very light and flexible. It wasn't perfect for my Alanya trip because the ski was very tough, very icy. So sometimes I felt it tremble a little bit. But when we got to powder, it was just amazing. So it's especially when you get powder conditions, you can just carry it up.
There's more float, or
probably, yeah. It's a wide ski. It's wider than what I have. The nose is slightly wider as well, so it'll float beautiful. I didn't get that much powder, but the conditions that I got, especially off-piste, were amazing.
Okay.
So what I like is a ski that performs really well off-piste, but which is also versatile. So, I was looking at skis like the wider the better. But the problem there is that you end up buying a ski that is optimal for the best day in the season. But when you ski a lot, often you'll be on icy. You don't get to pick the conditions. So I like to have a ski that works well in all conditions. And I never skied a ski that I couldn't ski on a piste. So I think a ski that you can use in all conditions is a better choice than unless you can buy 4 pairs of skis, then do whatever you want.
We're not all pros.
Right.
Okay, so if we look at everything that you use to get up the mountain, what is for you the most essential thing that you would never compromise on? Which is
probably the shoes. Yeah, if you don't have the right boots, that just screws with everything, right? But I could ski in my underwear if I had to, right? So that's less of an issue. But shoes that hurt or are too big can really mess up everything. So, but the second thing is probably the suit, right? You want to have just a good set. Don't be too cold or too sweaty, because that influences everything as well. But I also like having more small stuff with me. I always bring duct tape. I've got
we call it MacGyver tape, don't we?
MacGyver tape, yeah.
Fix anything with it.
You'll go anywhere with that. And that's a tip I have, by the way. When you have your ski boots, when you're skiing, there's a very small gap, and it might only be like a millimeter in front of the of your boot. So if you, like in the beginning of the week, you take a small piece of duct tape and tape it over the nose of your shoe, then you'll keep the snow out, and you'll have much drier and less soapy feet.
Okay, so that's what you were talking about. This is a tiny gap.
Snow tends to come in here when you're skiing, and when you put the duct tape over, you won't notice, it won't bother you at all, but it will keep the snow out from here. I always bring one of these. It's nice to tie stuff together, and I've used it many times, as you can see, for stuff. It's the same as duct tape. You can use it for everything. If you get a hole in your suit, or you want to tape off your boots, then it's really convenient to have. It's light and fits in your backpack. I got a Leatherman, and which is of course useful for everything. And I got a small suspension set with screwdriver stitches, so you can loosen everything. The other thing I really like having is one of these, and it's, at the end of the day I check my edges and tune them a little bit with this. And it's just a small thing you can do to keep them in shape, and it's light, cheap, so take it with you.
That's what we like. We do high-end stuff and light, cheap stuff.
Light, cheap, yeah.
Anything in between is not okay. The rest is
That's
okay.
good, yeah.
The adventure. What can you tell us a little bit more about what is so appealing that you think about it every day? You just want to go every day.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. You know, it is the fresh air, it is the view. It's difficult to get distracted when you got 40 kilometers view and you're on the top of a mountain. I also like the adventure part, so finding new routes, going somewhere where you're sort of slightly hesitant, you're like, oh, I haven't been here before, what's behind the next rock? So I like the adventure part as well. I also like that it takes full commitment, and there's a combination of skills that you gotta apply, right? So there's the technique, and there's the how well you ski, there's the strategy, what is the line I'm gonna pick. And then there's the mental aspect where you go like, am I really going to go for it, right? Am I committed? And if one of those is not in tune, you can be all committed, but if you're not picking the right path, you'll hit something or fall off something, which can be disastrous. So I think the combination is nice as well. And I think the other thing, that it takes your full commitment. You can't do it like 50% and think about your mortgage at the same time. You just got to be all in the moment. I like that. I like the total focus.
If we didn't know we were talking about skiing, you could almost hear a lot of. It's like a metaphor for life, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
There's like an area between having control and letting go, because those two words I hear them popping up sometimes, and what I notice at a certain moment is that also in my own experience. Is that sometimes you just have to, you're too much on the defensive, and it actually makes it more difficult. It's a bit about the speed thing as well. Yeah. Sometimes you have to throw yourself into a turn and into the angle of the slope to actually be safer, isn't it? It's
true. Yeah, that's true.
So how do you experience that kind of tension between those two, letting go and having control?
Well, when I ski with a teacher, they always talk about you got to be centered on the ski, but you got to be centered in a lot of things. You got to be centered between going too fast and too slow, and you got to be centered in being overconfident and not confident enough. So you got to find this balance all the time when you're skiing, and I like that. I like thinking about the skiing, and I'm very observant and people give me tips, I try to really sort of take in and see, okay, how can I apply this to be a better skier? I like that part of skiing. It's not just ski, right?
It's also thinking man.
It's like thinking about the whole, about the process of being there and feeling the snow. When the snowflakes hit the suit, I'll check out the snowflakes. What's the structure of the snowflakes? edges fall off? Is it, you know, because you know it will have an effect when you get on the mountain. So all these things matter. All the details matter.